Checkpoint 2. Evaluating client integrity and risk. 3 areas requires intense scrutiny. A negative finding in any of this can be completed barrier to acceptance. Okay. Client integrity should be evaluated and its client risk should also be evaluated. Now, 3 areas requires intense scrutiny, that is management integrity, client reputation and money laundering. If we find any negative finding in management integrity, client reputation or money laundering, then we cannot accept. It become a complete barrier to acceptance. A higher perceived lack of management integrity directly correlates to a greater risk of fraud and intimidation threats during the audit. Client reputation. The firm must consider whether its own reputation could be damaged by being associated with the prospective client. Okay. Money laundering. This is non-negotiable red line. If there is any suspicion of money laundering or evidence of actual money laundering committed by the client, the firm must not accept the engagement. Checkpoint 3 is ensuring firm competence and capability. The firm must ask itself 3 fundamental questions about its own readiness: whether it is professionally competent, whether it has resources, and fees and risk. Okay. Professional competence. Does the audit firm possess the necessary skills, experience and industry knowledge to perform work completely and to the required standard? Resources. Are there adequate resources in terms of staff with the right seniority and availability to complete the engagement within the required time frame? The third is fees and risk. Are the proposed fees commensurate with the level of risk identified with the prospective client? An unusually low fee for a high-risk client is a significant warning sign. Hazard on the path. Navigating conflict of interest. A significant ethical challenge arises when a firm is asked to audit 2 clients who are direct competitors. Okay. Situation places 2 fundamental ethical principles at immediate risk. One is objectivity and another is confidentiality. The firm's ability to remain impartial and unbiased toward each client could be compromised. There is a risk that sensitive information, example, strategy, performance metrics, could be perceived as being accessible or beneficial to the competing client. Applying safeguard to manage conflict of interest. If a conflict exists, it can be only managed by implementing robust safeguards. If this cannot be applied, the work must be declined. Okay, applying safeguard to manage conflict of interest. If a conflict exists, it can only be managed by implementing robust safeguards. If this cannot be applied, the work must be declined. First one is notify and obtain consent. The firm must notify all affected clients of the potential conflict to obtain their explicit consent to act. Second, use separate engagement teams. Entirely different teams with different partners and staff should be assigned to each client. Third one, establish information barriers. Implement strict procedures, example Chinese walls, to prevent any access to information between the 2 teams. Fourth one, sign confidentiality agreements. Team members should sign a specific agreement reinforcing their duty of confidentiality. Fifth, conduct independent review. A senior individual, independent of both engagement team, must regularly review the application of this safeguards. Recognizing the wider ethical landscape, right? Beyond conflict of interest, auditor must be vigilant against other threats to their objectivity. Advocacy threats, intimidation threat. These arise when the audit firm promotes a client position to the point where its objectivity is compromised. Presenting client in court in a dispute that is material to the financial statement. Negotiating on the client's behalf for finance. Intimidation threat. This occurs when auditors are deterred from acting objectively due to real or perceived pressures. Over reliance on a client fees, dependency, and audit partner leaving to join the client. The threat of litigation by the client. The unbreakable rule, confidentiality. The core principle, the member of an assurance team must not disclose any information to anyone outside of engagement team, even if they work for the same firm. Permitted disclosure. Information can only be disclosed when there is a proper and specific basis for doing so. These fall into three categories: permitted by law, authorized by client. Required by law, a professional duty or right to disclose were not prohibited by law. Final gateway, establishing preconditions for the audit. ISC 210 requires the auditor to confirm that a common understanding exists with management before accepting an engagement. ISC 210 precondition for the audit. ISC 210 requires that the auditor to confirm that a common understanding exists with management before accepting an engagement. Management must acknowledge and understand its responsibility for preparation of financial statement in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework, implementing internal controls necessary for financial statement to give a true and fair view, providing the auditor with unrestricted access to all relevant information, records, and personnel. Critical red line. If a client imposes a limitation on the scope of auditor's work to an extent that the auditor believes a disclaimer of opinion will be necessary, the engagement shall not be accepted unless required to do so by law. Engagement letter, formalizing the relationship. The engagement letter is a formal contract sent by the auditor to the client before the commencement of the audit. Its purpose is threefold: minimize misunderstanding, confirm acceptance, set out terms and conditions. Minimizing the misunderstanding, it set out the precise terms of engagement to avoid any ambiguity between the auditor and the client.